You ever been in a meeting, you look around the room, and you just get this sinking feeling like, I do not belong here. Any second now, they're going to find out I'm a total fraud? Well, if that sounds even a little bit familiar, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to unmask this feeling, this thing we call imposter syndrome.
In fact, if you feel this way, you're actually in the majority. A recent study found that a staggering 62% of knowledge workers all over the world have felt this exact same thing. That means nearly 2/3 of us are walking around worried that we've somehow tricked everyone into thinking we're good at our jobs. So let's be clear, this isn't some personal failing. It's a shared human experience.
But what is this feeling, really? It's more than just a little bit of self-doubt, right? It actually has a name, and just understanding what it is, that's the very first step to getting a handle on it.
And believe it or not, this is not a new idea. Way back in 1978, two psychologists, Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes, they're the ones who first defined what they called the imposter phenomenon. It's this deep, nagging belief that no matter what you accomplish, you get the degree, the promotion, people praise your work, deep down, you're convinced you're not actually that smart, and you've just been really, really lucky.
So where on earth does a feeling this powerful even come from? I mean, it doesn't just show up overnight. Turns out the roots often go deep, way back into our earliest experiences, and even the society that we grow up in.
The original research by Clance and Imes actually pointed to a couple of common family dynamics. So on one side, you might have the kid who is always called the sensitive one or the social one, while their brother or sister got the smart label. And that can set you off on this lifelong quest to prove you're intelligent too, always feeling like you're playing catch-up. Then on the other side, you've got the kid who was told they were perfect at everything, that things just came easy to them. But the second they actually have to try hard or study for something, they think, wait, if I was really smart, this would be effortless. I must be a fake.
But, it's not just about what happened at home. The world outside plays a huge part. When you're constantly seeing stereotypes about who's supposed to be smart or who's a natural leader, it's so easy to start doubting yourself if you don't fit that mold. And if you're often one of the only people who looks or sounds like you in a classroom or a boardroom, well, that can seriously amplify that feeling of not belonging. It's not just in your head. It's a totally normal reaction to some very real external pressures.
And those external pressures can kick in incredibly early. I mean, just look at this data from a Harvard-affiliated study. It paints a really stark picture. When you look at the percentage of kids living in poverty, you see these huge gaps between different racial and ethnic groups. Starting life with these kinds of systemic disadvantages can create challenges that absolutely contribute to feelings of inadequacy way down the road.
Okay, this brings us to a really core idea here, the imposter cycle. This is the key to understanding why getting another promotion or another A+ or more praise, why it often doesn't help. In fact, sometimes it just makes that feeling even worse.
All right, so here it is. This is what that cycle actually looks like. I know, it might seem a little complicated at first glance, but it's basically a map of what's happening inside your head. It's this feedback loop that just keeps going, where every achievement somehow fails to build any real, lasting confidence. Let's walk through it step by step.
So it all starts right here. You get a new assignment, a big project, some kind of task. But instead of getting excited, your first gut reaction is dread. The anxiety kicks in, the worry starts, and that little voice in your head goes, oh no, this is it. This is the time they finally figure me out. So to deal with that wave of anxiety, you typically go one of two ways. You either put it off, procrastinating until the absolute last second, or you do the complete opposite. You over-prepare. You work way harder, you stay up way later than anyone else, just to make sure you've covered every single possible angle. Either way, it's all driven by that fear of being found out.
And here, this is the most critical part of the whole cycle. You do the task, you do it well, you succeed. You get the praise, the good review, whatever, but you don't let it in. If you over-prepared, you tell yourself, well, the only reason I did well is because I worked 10 times harder than a normal person would have to. And if you procrastinated, you think, phew, I just got lucky that time. The success is never, ever because of your own natural ability.
And because you've just explained away your own success, nothing really changes inside. Sure, you feel relief for a moment, but that core belief that I am a fraud, it actually gets a little bit stronger. So the next time a task comes up, you're right back at square one, feeling that same dread, and the whole vicious cycle starts all over again.
So yeah, that's the problem. It's a powerful, self-feeling cycle. But here is the really, really good news. You can break it. And it's not about working even harder or piling on more achievements. It's about learning to think in a fundamentally different way. I've loved this quote from Dr. Valerie Young, who's a top expert on this. It just nails it.
The only way to stop feeling like an imposter is to stop thinking like an imposter. The big difference between people who feel this way and those who don't, it's not their talent, it's not their accomplishments, it's how they think about things. And the great thing is, you can change how you think.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Well, the experts point to a framework that looks something like this. First, you've got to break the silence. Talk to someone about it. You'll be shocked how many people say, "Me too." Second, learn to separate your feelings from the facts. Just because you feel stupid doesn't mean you are stupid. Third, you have to actively rewrite that internal script playing in your head. And finally, remember those systemic things we talked about? Acknowledging them helps you reframe the doubt, not as your fault, but as a normal response to your environment.
Let's look at what that re-scripting actually sounds like. It's a small change, but it's a huge deal. The old thought, the imposter thought, is, wow, everyone here is brilliant and I'm not. It sees a threat. The new script is, wow, everyone here is brilliant. I'm really going to learn a lot. See the difference? You're flipping the narrative from one of judgment to one of opportunity and growth.
And here are a few more quick mental shifts you can start practicing right away. When you make a mistake, instead of beating yourself up, treat it like a learning opportunity. Also, actually reward yourself when you do well. It helps break that habit of just dismissing your success. And that feeling of winging it, try reframing it. It's not proof you're a fake, it's a skill. It's called being adaptable and thinking on your feet. So, we've dug into the roots, we've mapped out the cycle, and we've talked about strategies to break it. So what's the big takeaway? What's the one thing to hold on to?
It's simply this. Feeling like an imposter does not mean you are one. It is not a character flaw. It is not a personal failure. It's an incredibly common psychological pattern, one that's shaped by our past and by the world around us. And just knowing that alone can shift you from a place of shame to a place of self-awareness.
And that brings us to one last question for you to think about. After all the hard work in all your achievements, what could actually be possible? What new things could you try? What risks could you take if you finally gave yourself permission to truly, fully own your success?